Today's project is a pair of Ouija board shoes. These are going to be white. You could also do them on a beige shoe with a more traditional brown Ouija board design. And I glittered the soles and the inside of the back heel on these. I will make a video at some point of how to do that. It's pretty simple. You do want to get probably a half size larger than you normally wear. With the full coverage adhesives, there isn't a lot of give, and you could always put a heel pad or an instep insert in if you need to snug them up. But I would recommend a half size larger to start. And I found these graphics just on Google and then used Print Shop, just a pretty simple program to put all the images onto one page, and then I printed them off. You do want to get a image of a planchette, and you will need two, one for each toe. So I printed off 5 sheets. The other sheets I changed out the planchettes and put another board, so you only need 2. So 5 sheets of this will do. So you can find whatever images you want. These are kind of a variation of them so they don't all look the same. And print these out, and you're going to need to cut all of these out. And you will need some half round beads to do the finish trim. These are available just on eBay or wherever you like. They're black, and these are 7mm to line the top of the shoe. You will need some Mod Podge, a brush, and to stick on your half rounds I use Gem Tack. Hobby Lobby. You can get it at Michael's, AC Moore. I don't think Joann's carries it. And last but not least, a pair of scissors to cut your graphics, and probably a handful of paper towel pieces to keep your brush clean. So cut out your graphics, and then we will get to the next step. Okay, so the little planchette graphics that you saved, you want to put them on something a little bit sturdier. These are going to go on the front of the shoes. I used just a case from a DVD that I've obviously used before. I'm going to use 3-in-1. And you want to glue this on. Cover the back pretty good. Here's my glue come out. It's almost empty. So just cover the back of this, and you're going to stick it on here and let it dry. Smush it on. Make sure all the edges are down. And then we're going to get back to this later. So you can set this aside for now. Okay, onto the shoes. Mod Podge. Just put this next to me so I can get to it. And then a couple pieces of paper towel. All your stuff you cut up. And there's a few tricky spots to cover. Right here, this angle, and the front. So I go ahead and find some pieces, and I kind of pre-make those spots before I put everything on. And how I do it is I just lay it on the shoe, and I push along where the edge is with my finger nail, and it will crease it. And you can look right on the back. Can you see where that is creased? See it? And cut that out. And this will make your life a lot easier when it comes to that part. So I make those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces and kind of just set them aside. See? It'll fit perfectly. So you need one of those for each side, and then a big one for these bottom curves. I line up this edge and the bottom right along. When I do these, they snug up right to this edge, and then I leave a little space by the stitch because that's where those black beads are going to go. So this one, again, push it right along with your finger. If you don't have nails, you could use the edge of a pen or whatever will pick this edge up to crease it so you can see where it is. It's a lot easier to cut it out when everything's dry. So once you start splattering this stuff on, it's going to get messy. It'll be harder to rearrange stuff. So that will fit good too. And then one for the front. Doesn't have to be huge. And I put it right along this little tricky toe part, which for some reason always gives me grief. So hold it on the shoe and then find your crease with your finger. Just crease it. Ta-da-da-da! See it? I don't know if you can see it. I can see it. And I'm blind. Well, not really. Okay, good. So cut those all out and put them aside, and then we'll start putting everything on. So when you put these on, you want to first put down some Mod Podge right on the shoe. This stuff dries clear, so I mean, obviously you don't want it all over everything, but you want a pretty good coat down. And you just start laying these pieces on. After you lay it on, you go back over it again to seal it down to the undercoat, the underbelly. This brush is kind of stiff, not really, but you want to be able to push these little creases out. You will get some because it's not a completely flat surface, but if you kind of push down as you're putting this coat on, you're gonna get a pretty smooth surface. Spots where you get a really big bubble because it's too curvy, you can make a little slit in the graphic and then it will lay down a little bit better for you. It might overlap a little, but I think the overlap is better than a huge crease. I'm gonna put this little tricky spot on. So I'm gonna do a couple of these and then I'll fast forward a couple more so you don't have to watch me do this whole thing, because that's probably not really much fun. You get the idea. Slide a little under that edge and then smush it down. I'm gonna really tuck it in that crease so there's not a little spot that it's not adhesed. And then I go right along this edge. I just smush my brush right in there. And lay it out. And you gotta cover the whole shoe. So you get the idea. Just keep going with it. I mean, you may have to cut some pieces to make them fit. It's kind of however you want to lay them on there. I've seen people do these and the graphics all line up perfectly, and I don't know what kind of powers they have, but as long as I cover all of the base shoe, I'm pretty happy with how they look at the end. Just keep on Mod Podging, smushing. Just like that. Make sure all your seams are snugly. We will go over these with another coat of this after this dries, but for now, just cover your shoe. It's a good start. Okay, so the body of your shoe is covered. Remember the little piece I told you to set aside? Throw a coat of Mod Podge over that, and that will help seal everything down. And then that's going to have to dry again. But just throw a coat over it. You can be sloppy because we're going to cut it out after we seal them. So don't forget that step. For the heel, I usually do it in sections, in stripes. I find if you put too long of a piece, this gap really, it's hard to keep them flat and not wrinkly. So I will start with a strip, and this one's probably thin enough for the top piece. And it's gonna curve up. See, I don't know if I can see that, but it doesn't go straight across just because of how the heel is. It will curve up a little bit. So if you put your finger in the middle and crease one side and cut that, and then you can crease the other side and cut it, and it'll lay a little bit better for you. And then as I work my way down the heel, I tend to do one side, Mod Podge it on, and then when I get to the other side, I just trim it. I really need to grow another arm. I've said that before, but, well, I just really need to. So if anybody knows how to do that, let me know. If your brush gets really goopy and it's picking up some of the, you know, ink, and it's just getting too messy, you can just wipe it off with a chunk of paper towel. I tend to do that every few pieces just to keep everything a little bit easier to work with. You're going to get a little bit of wrinkling. It's because it's a weird shape. It's a lot easier to do this stuff on something flat like a cigar box purse or something like that. And you can use whatever graphics you like, you know. If Ouija's not your thing, then I've done these with comic books. I've done it with a lot of stuff actually. And that isn't quite short enough. Trim this down a little bit more. Obviously a little bit trickier to trim. Now, but that's better. And then just try and push some of those wrinkles out. Your second coat of Mod Podge will hide a lot of that. See, my brush is all gaga. Kind of wipe it off. Alright, proceed. So this is a little bit straighter now, so you can probably just do one side. And up. And smush it right around with my finger. Push it on there. Give you a little stick. And then make the line. Aha, it didn't stick all the way. And you can cut it off where you need to. And just do this all the way down your heel. I usually stop right at the top of the footy peg, heel peg. I don't know what they call that thing. The thing at the bottom. I stop just shy of that. So finish putting these on both your shoes, and they have to dry completely. And then you're going to slap another coat of Mod Podge over the whole thing. So I will see you then. Alright, the shoes are completely dried, and I will go over them now with a second coat of Mod Podge. It will help to reinforce your seams and also hide some little creases. So give it a generous coat all over, and then that has to completely dry for the next step, which is a clear coat. I use Rust-Oleum. It is a semi-gloss. Make sure you get the clear. Haha. I got this at Joann's, and spray this in a really well ventilated area. I actually have a room in my basement, and I open the window and do all my painting down there. So give them a good once over with this, and also make sure to give your little planchettes a coat with this too. And then once that's completely dry, I will put on the half rounds, and then your shoes will be almost done. So second coat of Mod Podge and a nice clear coat on them. Okay. So these have been clear coated. I'm just going to use a sharp pair of scissors to cut them out. Stay right along that black line that you made. It's kind of thick stuff, so use a sharp pair of scissors. I've also done these with just kind of fun foam stuff, but I like the plastic better. It makes them a lot more sturdier. Ta-da! Pew! Knock your eye out, kid. And then after I do that, I use two little tiny crystals. I think those are about 9mm, and just some super glue to put right on that little circle spot. And that is that. So let those dry, and we will get them on the fronts at the end. Okay, last step is to put on the half rounds. These have been coated with the semi-gloss clear coat, and they're all dry, ready to go. I use gem tack for either rhinestones or my half round beads, depends what shoes I'm making. I just put them in a bowl, and you put them in a bowl that has a curve in it. As you use them and you need to flip them over, you can kind of shake it and it'll flip them over for you, so you can get at them easier. And as far as my favorite thing to use, this was just a paintbrush that I made into a cool wand thing, but this is eraser. It comes in a little square, it's like a gum eraser, and it has the perfect level of stickiness to pick up rhinestones or half round beads or whatever you're using. And you just take a little piece and pinch it and stick it right on the end. So you could use anything with this. You could use an orange stick or the end of a paintbrush or whatever you like. They do have rhinestone tools, which I've never used because I've always been happy with this. So you're going to put I usually start at the front. You start wherever you want. And I just put a thin, don't cut your opening too big on the end of your gem tack, or your glue line will be really ginormous. And I just put I do a little bit at a time. So I'm going to put this line right across there. And then get to getting. I just stick them on. I leave just a little tiny bit of the white showing at the top. And you just go all around your shoe. just like that. You get a little wiggle room with this glue. It doesn't dry instantly. So when you get to the end, if there's a space, you either have to scoot everything over and tighten them up to fit another one in, or spread them all out a little bit to fill so you don't have a weird kind of gap at the end of it. So I will do a little bit of this and then let you do your own pair of this. Oops. See? That glue dries clear. So if you have a little bit slashing around, that's fine. It will all be clear at the end. Probably if you're left-handed, you want to go the other way. I don't know why I just thought of that. Just being helpful. That's what I do. And just keep putting them on. And then these definitely need to dry before you mess with them anymore. So you get the idea. It's really simple. Take your time, unless you're in a hurry. So I just go all the way around the whole shoe. I've had other ones where I go around the bottom and then up and down the heel. You can put them wherever you want. I just go around the top with this pair. So do that for both shoes and then we'll put the fronts on. So the last step is just to put your little planchettes on the front. And again, I just use super glue. Usually put them right at an angle, right about there. So I put some super glue on the back along that edge. And just hold it for a second. And then I put the other shoe right next to it. So I can make sure they match. And line them up better. That's it. Whammo. One pair of Ouija shoes. So, I hope you love them. I hope you give it a try. It's super easy. And hopefully I will make another tutorial DIY shoes video soon. Thanks for watching.